Hey everybody, SHADRACH here, and for this Platinum solo, I have chosen Firebase Glacier against the GETH. There's only been one other person who's been able to pull this solo off, and that is the only Invader one. So I really thought that using the GETH Trooper was a justifiable kit to use against the GETH on Firebase Glacier. It's a very, very powerful kit. You do lose mobility when using the flamer, so that's definitely a challenge for me. I'm not very familiar with this character. I have not used him very much. Only this last month or so I've started using him a bit. I know there's been a lot of solos out there with this character, so like I said, I really wanted to challenge him if I was going to use him, so that's why I chose Glacier against the GETH. I used the Hurricane as my primary, which actually ended up being my secondary, and the Acolyte as my secondary, which actually ended up being my primary. The Hurricane is just very helpful for against Guardians, against bosses. The Acolyte is for stripping shields. Because I have the Flamer, I really didn't need the Hurricane except for the few times I used it against the Guardians. So the Acolyte, really was a major source of dealing with shields and barriers for me. The Disruptor rounds gave me that 8-second window where I could leave an enemy unattended after stripping its shields or barriers and come back to it and not have the shields and barriers regenerate so quickly. Like, for example, the Phantoms are notorious for that. You'll strip the shields, you'll turn your back for 1 second, turn around, and all of a sudden their barriers are back again. So the Disruptor rounds were very handy. Cyclonic Modulator to help counter the whole using the Hunter Vision, losing half my shields effect. And then I use the Responder Loadout because I really like the Responder Loadout, how it gives you that faster shield regen time. It really comes in handy. I find myself most of the time not needing the extra Metagels, but just knowing that they're there allows me to play a little bit more free, a little more aggressive without having to worry about repercussions as much. So I definitely used Invader 1's strategy here for kiting around the map. Thank you to Invader 1 for setting that standard for the movement and for controlling the spawns on this map. I definitely had to improvise quite a bit on some of the higher waves where I definitely just kind of aimlessly ran around the map. Hunter Vision was so critical to my success. I was able to see where enemies were coming from. I was able to respond accordingly. I definitely... see right there, normally I would have rotated up the map on that side, but the primes were there, I wasn't able to kite them properly, so I knew right off the bat, rather than jumping in front of them and getting stun locked and possibly downed, I was able to run up the middle of the map and continue on my counterclockwise rotation. I don't know if I mentioned before, but the GETH Trooper definitely is not one of my characters that I use frequently. I'm just barely starting to get the hang of this character. Believe it or not, it took me a while to realize that, hey, I need to strip their shields and barriers before I start using my flamer, or else they're just going to light me up through the middle of my flame. So a big part of using this character, it's really nice having the Acolyte because you can take their shields and barriers down once they're at you and their shields and barriers are gone. The flamer just melts their armor like butter in a micro. So definitely, he is very effective when used properly. If you don't strip their shields and barriers first, like I said, they're just going to hit you right through that flame and they're going to melt you, and it's going to be game over really quick. So I've already done one full rotation here. I'm right back pretty much at the starting point, and the wave budget is pretty close to being over. The beauty of GETH is that the harder waves I find, and I think most people would agree, is waves 1 and 2. And fortunately enough, those are the waves that have the lowest wave budget. So if you can survive the onslaught, then the rest of it, I'm not going to say it's smooth sailing, not even close, but it's definitely, you're at more of a downhill after wave 1 and 2 than an uphill as with other factions, I find. So really surviving the mass onslaught of wave 1 and 2 is very critical. If you can get through waves 1 and 2, then you're doing all right. So I'm basically on my second rotation around the map right now. I'm cleaning up the wave. It looks like I probably have 1 or 2 enemies left. And let's see here. Yeah, it's looking pretty bare. So I think I have a prime left down here to clean up. and then I can move on to wave 2. Definitely a very challenging aspect to this map, and I think why it's became such a famous map for soloing and being such a challenging map for soloing is that hazard. That hazard will take you down so fast. It is scary. You really have to keep an eye on that, and it can force you into a situation that you do not want to be in. So you really got to keep an eye on that, and I don't think Hunter Vision helps you at all with knowing where that swarm is and how it's moving around the map. So what I'm doing here is I'm starting right here on the long ramp, and then I'm going to rotate around to the bottom here, and I'm going to try and kite as many enemies to this bottom left corner of the map as possible. The disruptor rounds are amazing for stunning enemies, so it's really helpful for, I'm basically trying to jam up the enemies as much as possible, slow them down, and get them in a centralized location as much as possible. And I love this little cubby right here, this little area right here. I've gotten a lot of kills throughout this solo here. It's really sneaky. You can get hurt pretty bad through there, so you got to be very careful, but it's also very good for getting a couple little licks in before you rotate up to the top of the map here. Another very key point, I think, if you can centralize the primes, if you can get the 3 primes together, at least within 4 or 5 feet of each other, it's really going to help a lot. If you notice right now, I got a prime on the back side of me, a prime to the left. I'm getting stun locked all over the place, and it's bad news for me. I'm in trouble if I don't get out of there soon. So I managed to get out of there. I got this prime right here. I'm going to hit him with a couple Acolyte shots and just try and slow him down a bit, keep his drones basically at bay, and just try and get them centralized as much as possible. If you can get them centralized, if you can get the primes together, I think the best thing to do is just to leave them alone. Honestly, don't kill them. If you kill one, he's going to spawn out somewhere else, and if you kill the other one, then he's going to spawn out somewhere else. More than likely, they're not going to be centralized anymore. So a big strategy, I think, for this. It didn't really work out well for me on this round in particular, but try and get those primes centralized. If you do, just let them be. Just keep trading them around the map and killing all the small fries until you hit your wave budget. Right here, as you can see again, I'm using this little spot here, just kind of stunning them with my Acolyte, and just letting my Flamer rip through that little crack. Yeah, this is trouble right here for me, and I just barely get out of that and get my shield gate back. Definitely, this map is very challenging. It's very fast-paced. You have to think on the fly. You have to be very quick on your feet. And if you're not, then you're gonna definitely face the repercussions really quick. As you can see, it looks like I think I've almost hit my wave budget again. Like I said, wave 1 and 2, very small wave budget, but very challenging. So, as you can see, also Hunter Vision, it really helps on this map. I think that if you're going to take on Thunderdome or even regular Glacier, which is not as challenging, but it has its own challenges, that's for sure. I think that either the Geth Scanner or using one of the Geths and speccing into Hunter mode is going to help a lot. I think it definitely outweighs the shield penalty that you take for using and speccing into that power. So I've got pretty much every enemy on the board, very centralized here, and as you can see, these primes, you know, honestly, the primes, they don't have the highest shields and the highest armor, but man, with those 2 turrets, they are just such a force to be reckoned with. That's why, you know, wave 1 dealing with 2 of them at a time, wave 2 dealing with 3 of them at a time, it's so devastating. You know, you got to think on wave 2 here. I have 3 primes with 2 turrets each, and then there's 8 enemies total on the board. So 8 enemies plus 2 turrets from each one of the 3 primes equals about, was that 14? That's 14 objects or enemies on the board that are trying to destroy me. So it gets very hectic, very quick. That's why, like I said, if you can centralize those 3 primes and keep them together and just kind of keep them at an arm's length, well, obviously a lot more than an arm's length, but keep them at a distance to where they're not knocking you around the map, well, you knock the wave budget down, and then you can deal with them when they're the only 3 remaining enemies on the board. I definitely can say when they are the 3 enemies left on the board, it might not be a bad idea to maybe try to get one of them on his own. Like right here, for example, I have one on his own, and he's definitely going to be a lot easier than dealing with the other 2 with him. So I knocked him out by himself, and now I can deal with the other 2, hopefully one at a time, or kind of maybe separate them. If I can't separate them, then it's gonna be a little more difficult. Oh, it looks like I only have one enemy left on the board. So 1 prime by himself, not a huge deal. 2, definitely a huge deal. 3, oh my gosh, it is very difficult to deal with. I think that's why you don't see a lot of platinum gold solos. I mean, sorry, a lot of platinum GETH solos on the Platinum Hall of Fame. Speaking of the Platinum Hall of Fame, I definitely like to take this time to talk a little bit about it. Invader 1 has done an amazing job on the Platinum Hall of Fame. If you haven't seen it yet, go to BSN. If it's not on the first page on the multiplayer discussion, it will definitely be on the second page. He's basically categorized a bunch of different sections and created a Hall of Fame for all the people that are into doing platinum solos, or that are just into following people that do platinum solos and looking at, you know, their accomplishments. And he's created a section for the different races of characters for completing all of them together. He's done a section where, let's say you do all the hazard maps, or you do all of the maps, or even all of the characters. There's a lot of different completionist challenges, and then he also has basically gone through YouTube, gone through all of the different medias for to show your accomplishments, to show your platinum solos, and he's basically set up links for each one of these to show as proof. And then you can go there and you can see all the different platinum solos that your friends have done, that you have done, that people that you follow on their different channels have done. And he's done such an amazing job, and it's really helped promote the platinum soloing scene. My hats are off to my hat is off to him for that. I'm really happy that he did that. It's definitely quite an accomplishment on its own that he took that much time out of his day to do that. As you can see right there, I gave that turret just a little love tap through the wall there, and what I find is that if there's a turret that I see that I can't deal with, I'll just give it one bullet, or like I'll hit it with throw, or just one little love tap, and then within about 30 seconds, as long as the engineer doesn't repair it, at least that's what it seems like, it will detonate, or it will destroy or fall apart itself. And so what I do is I'll just give it a little love tap, and I'll leave it alone, and 30 seconds later I'll see some points show up on the board, and I'll hear a pop, and that's usually what has happened there. As you see, I was at the top of the map there for a second. I was basically pulling the enemies away from the objective and away from the LZ, and that way I could run to the objective really quick and bring it in for a safe recovery. So that was the wave 3 objective wave. It's one of the ones you hope for on this map. Objectives, hacks aren't too bad either. And as you can see here, I had all the enemies bunched together really in a nice little tight package there. So I was able to clean them up pretty quickly. I think that left me with 1 prime and maybe a phantom, I'm not sure. Maybe one other enemy. I don't know why that rocket launcher keeps popping up on my back, but there, I just took care of that really quick. I know that a lot of you guys don't like watching these platinum solos with I had somebody call it a vacuum cleaner the other day, and it does. It looks a bit like a Hoover vacuum cleaner on your back. So anyways, I got rid of that for you guys, so we would keep the eye candy nice and clean. Oh, looks like I have 2 primes left on the board, and just to clean up this wave here, I'm going to be really careful. I'm doing really well at this point of the game. I'm really happy with how everything's turning out. I actually wasn't even expecting to pull this off, and I think a lot of times when you have expectations for yourself and things aren't going well, it's really easy to fall into a domino effect of destruction and of just repeating accidents and not playing clearly. So I think that this was my second attempt here. I was just thinking like, okay, I'm going to try and work out all the bugs, and hopefully, you know, after a couple more tries I'll be able to pull this off. And it went really smoothly. I couldn't have hoped for better enemy spawns. I couldn't have hoped for things to go as smoothly as they did. I was very fortunate on that, except for my wave 10 objective, and we'll talk about that when the time comes. But that always happens to me. I don't know why. I always get the worst objectives on this game. This game really trolls you. I swear this game it can read your mind. Anything you want, you got to really play like a reverse psychology kind of deal with this game. If you want targets, you better wish for a hack. If you want objectives, you better wish for targets. You know, it's really bad like that. We do a lot of speed runs on Jade and a lot of other maps, and definitely had my share of attempts at trying to break these records that a lot of these players out there have set for speed runs. And yeah, we never get what we want as far as objectives go. We never get it's always devices on Jade, or it's always, yeah, it just never ends. This game is a non-stop troll, whether it's the store or whether it's objectives. It's just I guess one of the heartaches of the game, right? But that's just the way it goes. All right. Anyways, there's my second down. At this point of the game, I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna get insta-killed, and by the skin of my teeth, I pull that off. Lucky me, but still, that cost me 2 metagels right there. That one little error. If I was a little more cautious there, and I didn't let myself get pinched, I would have had 2 more metagels. So at this point of the game, I'm definitely thinking like, okay, I'm not gonna pull this off. This solo's not gonna happen. So I'm just going to, keep trying and see how far I get. I think it's very important when you're trying to do these solos that you never give up. Even at this point in the game, if I was at 0 metagels, I think it's important that you try and you keep on going. You're not going to learn anything if you don't. If you just give up, you're not going to learn anything. You're not going to progress. Every time you try one of these solos, every time that you attempt to solo any enemy faction, any map, you're going to progress to getting that done the next time. You're going to learn from your mistakes. You're going to come that much closer next time, or you're going to learn how to handle an objective better, or you're going to take your rotation at a different speed so that way the enemies don't spread out or don't cut through the middle of the map. Or there's so many different variables and different things that can happen to you on these solos. And that's why it's really, like I said, it's really important that you don't give up, that you just keep trying and keep trying and keep trying. Never tell yourself that you're not good enough, because if you already give up from the beginning, then, and you tell yourself you're not good enough, then you're not good enough. You're not going to do it. It's not going to happen. You've already given up. You've already been defeated. I've come a long ways in these solos. I definitely am nowhere close to where I'd like to be as far as skill goes. I'm just getting to the point now where I'm using characters that don't have stim packs, that don't have repair matrices, that don't have a way of replenishing their shields or their health, anything like that. So I mean, it's definitely a learning process. Start small, baby steps. A bunch of little baby steps equal big steps, right? Just like I said, don't give up. And don't sell yourself short. I have a friend, actually, that I play with quite a bit, and he's always selling himself short. He's always telling himself that he can't do it, that he's not good enough. And he just attempted the other day to do GETH on Jade, and he made it to wave 10, which is amazing. That's amazing. If you can make it to wave 10 on a solo, it's pretty much yours. It's just a matter of trying over and over, and like I said, not giving up. Keep going with it, keep trying, and it will be yours. This is not an easy thing to do. It's like they say, this is the hardest thing to do in the game. A platinum solo is the hardest thing to do in the game. If you think back to when Platinum first came out, BioWare actually made a statement saying that it is not possible to platinum solo. Right? The Platinum was not designed to be able to handle on a solo basis. And I think a lot of times when a lot of people say things like that, a lot of people take it as a challenge almost. And I think that they kind of shot themselves in the foot by saying that. A lot of people out there, really started trying when that statement was made. I think it's great, though. I think that, we're coming to the end of the game. A lot of people are playing Grand Theft Auto now. A lot of people are playing Payday. A lot of people are playing Diablo 3. And, this is really Invader 1 putting out these soloist challenges and these completionist challenges. I think it's helping prolong the longevity of the game, and I think it's great. A lot of people on my friends list now are challenging themselves with these platinum solos. And even if you're not at a level where you can play platinum, I mean, play bronze. Look at your solo challenges for your Lone Wolf title and start on bronze. Work your way up. There's so many ways of challenging yourself on this game. This game is just, I think that's a big part of why it has such a high replay value. I would love to see a lot of you guys out there, moving up in progression on this game and trying to do these bronze challenges. I mean, these bronze solo challenges. And then as soon as you're getting your bronze solos, then try your silver solos, and then go to your gold. And there's just so many steps that you can take to progress and become a better player. And I've been seeing it more and more. This game also got the trilogy, the Mass Effect 3 trilogy, got awarded by IGN best game, which is amazing. I mean, this game right here, Mass Effect, got awarded best game. Like, that is huge. That is so huge. And I've been seeing a lot of new players on Mass Effect over this last month. Actually, over this last couple of months even. There's been a lot of new players. So, I mean, the game, I definitely can say it's not dead. It's definitely not dead. And I love seeing all these people that are getting together and playing this game. It's a co-op game. The camaraderie involved, the friends that I've made, it's been so rewarding. I can't put it in words really. But I'm very thankful for it. I'm very thankful for the experiences I've had on this game and the friends that I've made. And it's going to be really sad to see that end. You know, hopefully BioWare does well when they come out with the next Mass Effect, and the multiplayer is continues to on the level that they've put it out at. You know, they've really set a good standard here, and I hope that they live up to this standard for the next Mass Effect. Okay, so here I am. As you notice, the spawns are very split. I'm going to get back here to the gameplay a bit. I kind of went on a little ramble there. I apologize, but as you can see, the spawns are split. I'm moving really fast, and so I'm going to try and hang out here on this corner of the map as long as I can. I'm going to try and pull as many enemies this way as possible. Any enemies that are really fast, I'm going to try and kill, so that way they can respawn, and by the time they get to me, hopefully the other enemies will be to me as well. Atlases can be really tricky because atlases are so slow. They can do a couple of things. They can jam up doorways. They can linger on a part of the map where none of the other enemies are, forcing you to move through fast. They can be very dangerous. You know, a lot of people think that they're kind of a joke sometimes because they're so slow, but in a solo they can be very dangerous, like I said. So here we are. I'm back here at the starting point on the map, and these phantoms are also moving very quick, and the atlases are moving very slow, and that's a big part of my trouble for this round here. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm trying to slow them down. I'm trying to basically get as many enemies together as possible. And this is a really good point right here, actually, where I'm getting a lot of kills. I'm knocking this wave budget down really, really nicely. And looks like the atlas is catching up. So I'm back here to this point. I think I've actually hit the wave budget now, which is really nice. So yeah, it looks like it. So I'm going to start chipping away at this atlas. Thanks again to Hunter Vision, I'm able to see where that other atlas is. So because those two atlases are right in the central part of the map, I'm going to try and get a nice left shoulder cover, so that way I can shoot over the right and stay kind of, you know, in cover and not have to worry about exposing myself too much when I'm shooting. So we have a little phantom here that I dealt with really quick, and these atlases should be making their way around to me here pretty quick. So it looks like actually they're jammed up at the bottom, so I'm going to go up and meet them halfway. So like you can see there, I'm using my Acolyte, stripping their shields, and going straight to my Flamer to knock down the armor. And as you can see there, my left shoulder is exposed. That's definitely a disadvantage for me, so I want to pull back a bit here so I can get my left shoulder covered. I really would like to see in the next Mass Effect, it would be amazing if you could switch which shoulder you're looking over. I think that would be a great addition to the next Mass Effect. I would love to see that. I think it was was it Army of Two maybe that you were able to do that? I can't remember. But anyways, that would be a great thing. I would love to see that happen for the next Mass Effect multiplayer. So right there, I'm in a very deadly line of sight, so I need to pull back so that way I can get cover again. This is one of the few times you'll see me use the Hurricane in this game. And as you can see, it's really good for dealing with armor, good for dealing with bosses. I have the stability dampener on that with the high velocity barrel, so that gives me that armor piercing effect, and the stability helps with that recoil. So I'm back to the Acolyte. Also, another thing too about this Acolyte, if you guys didn't notice, is I'm using the power amplifier, which gives me a 30% bonus to my base for my Flamer, which is really big actually. A big part of why I'm keeping this acolyte out the way I am is because of that. So I got a hack here. I wanted to kind of pull the enemies away from the top a bit, so that way they don't cut through the LZ and cut me off. I want them to come through the middle of the map, so that way when they get to me I can actually rotate clockwise around the map, pull them away from the hack, and come back to the hack, you know, and get as much time on the hack as possible. As you can see, I'm definitely trying to kill as much as possible, spending as much time on the hack as possible too. At this point, I can see the prime in the middle of the staircase there, so I'm going to try and pull them down to the bottom of the map. I'm going to rotate around to the top of the map and run back to the LZ. So I'm going to hang out here as long as I can. I need to pull them away from the hack. Now I'm at the bottom of the ramp here. I'm just going to continue to try and pull them away as much as possible. I want to create as much distance from the hack and them as possible, so that way when I get on, hopefully I can finish it off. I would recommend, even if it takes you 5 times of doing this, you have enough time on the clock to where you can pull them enemies away from the hack, run back to the hack, pull the enemies away, run back. You can do it, you know, if it takes 5 times, it takes 5 times. If it takes 4, it takes 4. Whatever it takes, just keep an eye on the clock and try to balance your time and budget your time properly, and the hacks will be no problem. I actually welcome hacks for solos. I think that they're great. One of my favorite objectives, honestly. Next to the deliveries, devices are the bane of my existence for solos, and I don't know if you guys have seen my Condor solo. I actually got devices on all 3. It was unreal. I think I don't think it gets any harder than devices. Against collectors on wave 3, it's not as bad, but it's not something that I welcome. So that was my second time that I was on the hack. I'm going to pull them away for a third and final time, hopefully. So as you can see, there's my hunter vision again. Intel on the battlefield is priceless. I'm going to basically rotate up here to the dark hallway, hang out here for a little bit, pull them off the hack as much as possible, and then I'm going to rotate clockwise around the map, run through the LZ, hop back on, and hopefully finish it up. As you can see, I got my prime separated here, which sucks. It's never good. You know, that's basically a prime, 2 turrets on the right side, and a prime and 2 turrets on my back side, just all opening fire on me. So I'm going to try and get out of there as fast as possible. Looks like the hack is clear. So yeah, I'm going to be able to finish this up no problem, I think. And it looks like we got the hazard going through the middle of the map, which is beautiful. And it's done. One thing to keep in mind, I'm sure most of you guys know this already, on objectives, if you're going to nuke anything after an objective is finished, wait till you see that those credits show up on the right side of the screen. I believe they're in green. Once you see those credits show up, and then if you kill any enemies after that, they're not going to spawn back. But if you kill any enemies before that, those credits show on the right side of the screen there, then they're just going to spawn right back. So it's just going to be basically an endless stream of enemies until you finish the objective, and that credit number shows. Once again, here you're seeing me use this little crack in the wall here. I really like using stuff like this on maps. I'm always looking for new little places like this to get a little cheap perspective on the enemies from, and to be able to lay in cheap shots on the enemies. You know, you got to use everything to your advantage doing platinum solos. Every little thing adds up and becomes something bigger, right? So it's definitely something you should keep an eye open for. Primes do it all the time. As I'm sure you guys have noticed on Reactor, where you'll be running and then all of a sudden you'll get hit by a prime from the other side of the map, through some crack under a hill, through some trees, through some window on someone's house, and then out their door, and then under another hill, and then it hits you in the back of the head, right? So it's definitely, you know, if a prime can do it, then you can too, right? So keep an eye open for those little exploits, I guess. It's not even an exploit, I guess, you know, those little angles that you can pull on the enemies, right? Every little thing helps. So here we go. I'm starting on wave 7. This is definitely a hard wave. We got a lot of phantoms on this wave, and I believe this is the wave that we got the Banshees. Yeah, here we go, Banshees. Tons of fun. Now, the reason this wave is so difficult is because the Banshees on this map are basically dictating the pace of the match. They are going to be pushing me faster than I want to move, and as you can see, I get in a lot of trouble here. One down right there, right off the bat. That leaves me with 3 metagels left, so I got to be a little more careful now. I'm on wave 7, and I'm still kind of thinking that I'm not going to actually pull this off at this point, but I'm not sitting there contemplating it. I'm not dwelling on the idea that I'm not going to pull this off. I just kind of think that it's not going to happen, and then I move on. Like I said, you don't want to sit there and focus on a thought like that, because it's going to obstruct you from doing what you really need to be doing, and that's focusing on the game and what's in front of you. So these Banshees really push me fast around the map, and I'm trying to stick to this kind of clockwise rotation here. Counterclockwise rotation here. And I think what I finally just kind of decide is I'm not going to stick to the rotation. I'm just going to improvise. I'm going to use my hunter mode to my advantage. I'm going to look and see where the bulk of the enemies are, and I'm just going to rotate whatever direction I have to stay alive, and I'm just going to kill as many of these enemies as I can, as fast as I can. And you know, if I end up going clockwise, so be it. If I end up going counterclockwise, so be it. I definitely think it's definitely, when there's a lot of phantoms on the board and there's Banshees, it's really hard to stay to one specific path. So improvising is definitely a big part of soloing, whether it's platinum, bronze, silver, gold, or whatever it is. You know, you definitely are going to have to improvise. There's always going to be situations that are going to take you away from the plan, and that's a big part of being a good soloist, and a big part of being successful as a soloist is being able to improvise, being able to think on the fly. Every map has different areas of the map that you have alternate routes that you can take, and it's good to be aware of that. It's good to think, you know, if this side of the map is congested and there's an Atlas and a Prime sitting there waiting for me at the top of the stairs, you know, take the right side, you know, go the other way, you know, pull the enemies out of that hallway. Then the hallway is free for you to go through next time you come around the map, right? So improvising is huge in the success of soloing. Definitely something to keep in mind. Don't just stick to a certain path, even though you see some people do it and it works great for them. A lot of times it's not going to work for you, because you can never 100% predict where every enemy on the board is going to be. It's always different. It's always changing, depending on the speed that you're killing enemies, depending on where you kill enemies. It's always going to be different. I think that the most important thing that you can actually do is at the beginning of the wave, is trying to force the spawn to be in a certain place at the beginning of the wave. So that way, at least for the first part of the map, you can have a little more control than the last part of the map, or the middle part of the map, or the round. So, you know, definitely, if you notice, I'm starting out on the ramp. By looking the way I am and being where I'm starting, I'm forcing them all to spawn on the LZ for the most part, or at the top of the map. Then I basically come down to the bottom there where I just was, and I hang out there for a little bit, and I pull the enemies in there as tight as possible. So a lot of times, you know, killing stragglers and stuff like that, and not really focusing on where the bulk of the enemies are, is not a bad thing, you know, because you can kind of centralize the enemies a bit more by doing that. It is a bit more time consuming, but you know, it's not always about time. It's you know, it's a platinum solo, right? It's a solo. It's about you. It's about you beating the enemies and you alone. It's a lone wolf operation, you know. So I mean, it's definitely, that's something that I am trying to work on as a soloist myself. I'm trying really hard to cut down on the amount of time I take doing these solos. And you know, it's a learning experience. This game is always a learning experience. There's always something new to know. There's always something new to learn. It's non-stop. Even though this game has been out as long as it has been, and I've put as many hours into this game as I have, there's always new stuff I'm learning. It's always something new. I haven't even really experienced all the characters in their entirety yet. Like, there's tons of characters. Like I said, I just started using the Geth Trooper about a month and a half ago, maybe even. And I just never really... I knew a lot of people used him. I knew he was very powerful. But I just never... There's just so much other stuff going on. So many other characters that, you know, I was interested in and I was using, that I just never really got around to it. And here I am. Now I'm using them. And, you know, the Saboteur is another character that I just started using, that I'm planning on trying to do a solo with. I think that he's a very challenging character, and the fact that he doesn't have stimpaks even increases the difficulty. That it greatly increases the difficulty of using him as opposed to the Havoc or the Ghost. And so, I would love to pull a platinum solo off with him. And so, he's a new character that I'm starting to use that I'm definitely learning the ins and outs of. The Vorch, I rarely use the Vorch. I rarely use the Krogans. Characters that don't have any evade, I'm just starting to use them quite a bit more. So, I mean, there's just so much to this game, so much to experience. The longevity of this game just keeps going and going and going. I mean, it's really going to be sad to see this game taken off the servers in the future, because it's such a great game. I don't know if it ever will. I'm sure at some point in time it will, probably when the next Mass Effect comes out. But, like I said, the learning curve for this game is just so massive, and I think that's a big part of the appeal and why so many people play it, and so many people, and why it's got Game of the Year, or not Game of the Year, sorry, best game, or I don't know exactly what the title was. I know the trilogy got best game on IGN. I don't know exactly what the specifications were. Okay, as you can see there, I started out on the long ramp, and then I hooked around right here, and all the enemies spawned on the LZ. I just wanted to point that out again. I know I've mentioned it a couple times already. And another thing too is this hazard, man. This hazard, it doesn't only do damage to you, but it does do a lot of damage to the enemies. It strips their shields. I get a couple kills throughout the game. I know if you actually solo bronze on this map, on this hazard, and you get that hazard angry, it will actually finish wave 1, wave 2, and probably some of the higher waves even off for you, which is really hilarious. You can actually do nothing and just make that swarm angry, and it will actually go around and get the wave budget down for you, which is quite hilarious actually. So this is wave 8, like I said. As you can see, those Banshees, man, they push you at a pace that is dangerous. Like you really can get hung up on enemies by moving that fast. They're basically, the Banshees push me around the map really fast, and all the slower enemies just cut through the middle of the map and cut me off. So, by them cutting through the map and cutting me off like that, that's definitely why this Hunter Vision is really helpful. I know I'm kind of repeating myself here, but I really want to point that out again, how critical intel on the battlefield is. It definitely is a big part of why the U.S. military has such an advantage over other countries' military. Is they have satellites basically that are giving intel to their troops, telling them, okay, there's 30 guys here and they're all looking this way. There's 20 guys here and they're all looking this way, right? And so, numbers these days don't really mean as much in the military when you have that kind of intel, and it just shows. For example, here in this game, right? Like, I am greatly outnumbered. The firepower against me is massive compared to the firepower I'm dealing. And just by having Hunter Vision, I'm able to avoid the enemies. I'm able to deal with the enemies that I should be dealing with, one at a time, two at a time, or whatever. And like I said, intel is priceless. It is worth way more than the shields I'm losing. Plus, I have a movement speed bonus from Hunter mode also, which is great. Rank 6, I definitely go top, which is the increased, enhanced Hunter Vision and the increased movement speed bonus. So I'm definitely playing a little bit panicky here because of the speed that I have to move around, because the Banshees are pushing me the way they are. I'm moving a little quicker than I'd like to, but like I said, Hunter Vision, it saved the day. It made this solo possible. It definitely made it a lot easier than it could have been. So Hunter Vision, thank you very much for making this solo possible. Anyways, getting on with the strategy here a bit. I'm just still moving around the map. Normally, I think what I probably would have done a bit differently here is when the Banshees are pushing me the way they were, I should have been dealing more DPS to them and just getting them to stop and then wait. Like take cover and wait. A couple of times I actually finished them off, and I should have just let them be, let the enemies catch up, and have a little bit more map control than I did. I definitely played a little more panicky than I would have liked to play here. I think that at this point of the game, I'm just like, oh my goodness, I'm at 9. I wasn't even planning on passing this solo, and I'm at 9, you know, and so I definitely fed into my emotions a little bit here. I think that I would have done much better on a following attempt, or if I would have stayed a little more calm. I'm not going to lie. When I do these solos, especially some of these more difficult ones, I get my palms start sweating. I get really nervous. You know, it's not like I have full mental control. You know, I'm definitely, I get anxious. My heart rate goes up. My adrenaline starts going a little bit. You know, it's a very intense experience. I think it's a big part of why I like doing it so much. Why it's so enjoyable. I think I mentioned this before in a previous solo. It's almost kind of addicting in ways, just because the challenge is so great. These are the hardest things I've done in video gaming. These solos here, and I've been playing since I was, 4 years old. I've been playing video games, so it's definitely something. It's not something to snicker at. Saying that these are the hardest accomplishments that I've had in video gaming. And I really love challenging myself. I love doing this. It's great. I'm really happy. Like I said, I mentioned this before. Invader put up that Platinum Solo Hall of Fame, and it's motivated me to become a better player. It's motivated me to challenge myself even more. It's basically laid out a stream of goals that I didn't have to do or lay out myself. And I think that when BioWare put out those challenges, it really promoted the game. It pushed the game. It pushed a lot of players and increased the longevity of the game. And we're getting the same effect here with this Platinum Solo Hall of Fame that Invader has put out for us. I think it's great. I really do. I love seeing all you guys out there doing these challenges, doing these solos. I know there's someone out there, I can't remember his name, but I've read a couple of his threads on the forum. If you guys aren't at a level where you want to be doing Platinum solos, or if you don't like the intensity of it and you want something a little more relaxing, but you still want to challenge yourself, there is a thread that there's a series of gold solos, and I'm sure a lot of these gold solos are probably a lot more difficult than some of the Platinum solos out there because of the specifications and the criteria that he puts for these solos. A lot of them, I can't remember his name, but I'm sure if you look on the BSN on the forums there, you'll find it. Basically, once a week he puts out a challenge. It's a gold challenge, and there's two different challenges. One is a hardcore challenge, and one is more of a basic challenge. And he basically, he'll pick a couple characters. He'll pick a character. He'll pick a map. He'll pick a faction, and he'll pick a weapon, and he'll set some criteria down or a list of protocols for completing this challenge. And I think it's great. I really like what he's doing with it. If you guys aren't doing Platinum solos and you want something to work up to Platinum solos, or if you just want to challenge yourself, and I would definitely recommend checking this thread out. It's really cool what he's doing. I need to look up and find out his name and everything. But like I said, if you're interested in this, just check out BSN. I'm sure it wouldn't be hard to find on the discussion board there. Definitely, it's good to challenge yourself. It really is. I think a lot of people fall into comfort zones, and I think that's a big part of why people lose interest in games and lose interest in a lot of things in life, is you're not being challenged. Challenging yourself keeps you going. It keeps you interested. It motivates you. I think it's great to see all of these people out there contributing to that aspect of this game. Thank you, Vader. Thank you to, what's your name? I can't even remember, but the guy that's doing these gold challenges. I appreciate you guys doing this. Thank you for helping keep this game alive. And that's wave 9, I believe, actually. So I'm going back around here to my starting point. Oh, this is wave 9. Darn. Okay. So anyways, I'm on wave 9 now. Now, this wave right here is very difficult. Definitely a very difficult wave. So I'm going to definitely use a couple nukes here. I'm going to wait down here at the bottom of the stairs, and there's one. I got one kill streak. I'm going to hang out here for a second and just try to jam up the enemies as much as possible. Because when you nuke a wave, when you nuke a bunch of enemies, you got to think the spawns could potentially split, or they could potentially all end up together in the same spot. So it can be very dangerous when you nuke a lot of enemies. You have to be very careful. Play cautious when you do. I'm trying to stay on this one far corner of the map, because that way, whenever I nuke these enemies, they're going to gravitate exactly to where I am here. And I'm trying to keep that back long ramp where I start open, so that way I have a backdoor escape. So right here it looks like we got the Banshee that's going to push me out of my spot. So I'm going to try and slow her down a little bit. And looks like the top is clear. So I'm just going to keep on rotating around the map. If I can get another good nuke off, then I basically have this wave in the bag. Dealing with this wave without using a couple nukes, it can be very challenging, definitely. We have, I believe, double primes, double banshees, and I can't remember, maybe 2 phantoms. I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on that. But it's a very challenging wave. Wave 9, I think, is one of the hardest, just because you have a very, very large wave budget also. So I'm coming through the LZ here. I got a couple scragglers here and there, so I'm going to take that scraggler out. And this Banshee is definitely pushing me faster than I'd like to be pushed. A lot of people think that Reapers are the easy faction. Something I'd like to point out: Banshees, they push you fast. They keep you going. And Reapers, there is no easy faction on Platinum, honestly. I don't care. A Platinum solo is a Platinum solo. If you pull it off against Reapers, it is a great accomplishment. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. It's definitely not an easy thing. Any Platinum solo, I have respect for you for. I definitely do. I'm not going to say that it's easy. Any of this is easy. It's not. It's always been a challenge for me. So I think I got the wave winding down right now. Those couple of nukes there really helped out a lot. I'm surprised. I know these primes are around here somewhere. I'm pretty sure we have a couple primes lurking around here somewhere. So I'm definitely just going to hang out here for a little bit and chip away at the wave budget as much as I can. I'm sure these primes are going to show themselves any second now. It looks like we have a couple rocket troopers, a couple phantoms, a couple primes, and a couple banshees. I think that makes 8. Yeah, there's that Banshee right there pushing me down to the base of the map. I'm definitely improvising a lot more. As you can see, I'm not sticking to a basic rotation. I'm just doing whatever I can to stay alive and chip this wave budget down as much as possible. Yeah, so there's 1 prime, I got 1 Banshee right there, and I got a phantom behind me on the tail. And there's the 2 rocket troopers. And so that leaves 2 enemies unaccounted for. I always try and keep a mental note of how many enemies are on the board, where they are. I try to keep my map awareness as updated as possible. I know there's only so much you can really do to do that, but see right there, those primes, it looks like they were just kind of lurking in the middle of the map because of the speed I was moving around. You'll notice that same behavior with Scions also. Okay, right here looks like a great rocket opportunity, so I'm going to take it, and I think that put me over my wave budget. So yeah, it looks like it. So I just have the wave to clean up with now, and I'm golden. On to wave 10. So at this point of the game, I'm cleaning up wave 9. So what's going through my head right now is I'm just kind of thinking like, oh, please don't give me targets. I have 3 rockets. If I get targets, then you know, I might have some problems here, because I'm going to be able to nuke 3 of them. I'm going to have to kill 1 of them with my weapons and my power, and then I'm going to have to clean up the wave with no rockets, basically. And it's a tough wave. Wave 10 is a very tough wave, very, very hectic, busy wave. So when wave 10 rolls around, I'm hoping for no targets, and worst of all, the worst thing that can happen to me right now is if I get devices. This map right here is a very small map. I really don't want devices. If I can avoid devices, then I'm doing good. And lo and behold, what do I get? I get devices. And that's just me. I don't know why. I always get trolled by objectives. Like I said, on Condor, I got devices on 3, 6, and 10. And that is an extremely hard map for devices. On this map right here, they gave me devices on 10, and this is definitely not. I think that was the worst thing that could happen to me right now, is I got devices. So I'm trying really hard to keep a level head here. I'm trying to basically, best thing I could do here is just pull as many enemies away from each device as possible and get on it and just hope that I can, you know, get this device before an enemy comes and knocks me off of it. So I'm just kind of hanging out here on the LZ. Phantoms are really quick. As you notice, I killed that Phantom. There's another one right back in my face again. Here comes the Banshee. So right now I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. I'm going to get out of there. There's another Banshee. And I'm going to try and pull this off right here. I'm going to rocket this prime. And hopefully I can get this objective here without getting knocked off of it. It's looking pretty promising except for this Phantom right here. And lovely, I got it. So 2 rockets left, 2 objectives. I got this objective right here, and I don't think I have a chance, so I'm going to need to make a quick rotation around the map and just pull as many enemies away from that device as possible. Like I said, these Banshees, man, they really make these devices difficult because, like I said, they're making me move faster than I want to move. And I know it's definitely, you don't want to be moving fast on this if you can help it. You want to spend as much time away from the device as possible. If the Banshee pushes you out, or the Phantom pushes you out, then you know that might not be enough time to get the device done. So here we go. I got 1 prime right here. I'm going to line myself up with the prime, and I'm just going to hope that he can't hit me. And I'm very, very lucky that I was able to get on this device at this angle, and I was able to pull it off, and I'm out of there. 1 device to go. I got 2 rockets. 2 minutes 37 seconds on the board, so I'm doing really well. The device is at the top of the map, so what I need to do now is, once again, I know I keep repeating myself here, is I just need to pull these enemies away from the device as much as possible. I don't have a lot of time to make this happen, but I'm praying that I can get it here, and it's looking clear. If that Banshee right there is going to get really close to me, this is a dangerous risk that I took right there. I probably should have nuked her and then finished it, but I pulled it off. Now all I have left to do is clean up this wave here, and I'm golden. So right here, I am going to take her out because she is by herself. That leaves me with 7 enemies left on the board. There is a prime right there, and I'm definitely going to try and pull off a good little nuke here and hopefully clean up the wave budget a bit, making it a little bit easier for me to get onto my extraction wave here. So we have a Banshee up top, we have a prime, we have looks like I don't know, a Phantom. Yeah, we had a Phantom, a Banshee, a prime, and a Marauder, I believe. So that leaves me with a prime and maybe 1 other enemy. I'm thinking it's a Phantom, or maybe it's a Banshee. I think it's a Banshee actually. And so I'm pretty much golden at this point. I got 2 gels, 2 survival ops, 4 thermals, and a rocket, and 2 enemies left on the board. This prime is almost done. Or is it 3 enemies left on the board? I think my count was off a bit. I think I had 3 left. It looks like a hunter, and I'm pretty sure there's a Banshee around here somewhere too. And oh yeah, there she is. I can see her on the top right with 100 vision. Yeah, we have a Banshee left, and she's in this little spot up here. I'm sure you guys are familiar with this. Every once in a while you'll get fortunate, and the Banshee will just kind of linger up top there, which is really handy in a solo situation, because you know, 1 less Banshee on the board is 1 less Banshee pushing you around the map faster than you want to go. So I cleaned her up. I'm on extraction right now. My hands are shaking, and I am really excited. I'm thinking that I'm really hoping I get this in the bag. I really don't want to make a mistake, and extraction is beginning. So the one thing I want to talk about right now, before I mention that actually, if you notice the spawn split, that was really dangerous right there. I almost got caught up by those Banshees. There is something that you guys probably notice on Hydra, for example. If you can pull enemies far enough away from where the other side of the map, and you can get to the other side of the map faster than they can get to you, you can actually, they will lose interest in you, and they will just kind of loiter on the other side of the map. And that's what I did here. I pulled all the enemies to the top of the board, and then I ran through the LZ as fast as I could. I got downed. I dealt with whatever downed me, and I got down here to the base of the map. As you can see, my hunter vision, I can't even see any enemies. They're that far away. And so this is a really good strategy. It's tricky to pull off, but if you can pull it off, it's great. I'm basically undisturbed here at the bottom of the map. I've got pretty much every enemy on the board at the top end of the map, and all I have left to do here is ride out the clock, and then I can go in for an easy landing and extraction. So the countdown right here is at 30 seconds. My nerves are pretty much shot at this point. I'm really excited to pull this off, and I definitely feel at this point I have it in the bag. So 20 seconds left at the board. Here we go. And by the way, I'm in a party with some friends right now, and I'm just like, I'm on the edge of my seat, and I am screaming for joy at this point. So I'm going to go in 10 seconds, 9 seconds, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and full extraction. There we go. And that is my platinum solo. 53-51 is my grand total on my time there. I hope you guys enjoyed this commentary. I hope you guys enjoyed this gameplay. This is the second. There's been 2 platinum solos recorded on Firebase Glacier, or aka Thunderdome, against GETH. And this is the second one. The first one is Invader 1. And thank you, Invader 1, for setting the standard. I'm glad that I can be in your footsteps. And anyways, I'd like to challenge you guys out there to challenge yourself. Pick a solo and do it. You guys can. You guys can do it. No matter what your skill level is, there is a difficulty out there for you, and it will help you progress and become a better Mass Effect 3 player. So thank you again, guys, for your subscriptions. Thank you for your views. And until next time, take care.